Here we go.
Do it.
Okay, cool.
Here we go.
Welcome back, everyone, for another episode of Coffin Talking. This will be our last episode of our first drop of our 5-part series to introduce the podcast. So we're really excited that you made it this far with us. And of course, I'm your host. I'm with Frank now. How are you doing, Frank?
Good. I'm doing great. It's been a good week. A couple of the stories I'll share that I've experienced today. No, I'm kidding you.
Well, but you told us last week that
it's been over 40
wasn't.
years. Oh.
Right.
No, it'll be kind of a more of a joyous episode today. I hope something that's a little different, but a different perspective on the females themselves. So
good.
It'll be good.
Good. Speaking of joyous, I think that you'll be upset about this, but we're going to start setting up Christmas.
What? Why would I be upset about that?
Because it's too early.
Oh, no. It's never too early for Christmas.
For everyone, it's November 4th currently.
Yeah.
I'm usually strictly only after Thanksgiving because I want Thanksgiving to have its time to shine.
And,
I don't want Christmas to interfere.
And, Mom's birthday so close to Christmas.
Right.
She wants it up and down. So.
Yeah.
She doesn't.
For her birthday, 3 days after Christmas.
Yeah. So as soon as the Christmas happens the next day, when is Christmas coming down? When is Christmas coming down? Okay.
It's time to take it down.
Which is fine. I mean, that's the way she wants to do it, and that's okay.
How it goes.
When I grew up, we used to have Christmas the day of Thanksgiving. We would set up the Christmas tree, and it would come down the 7th of January.
The 7th of January. That's very specific.
Yep. 1 week after. Why? 1 week into the new year.
1 week into the new year. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Still have the Christmas joy, and then the dread sets in.
The dread is taking everything down. Okay.
Oh,
that's what it is. It's fun setting things
right.
up because of all the lights and everything. You just get joyous when there's lights around.
Yeah, you just get excited.
Yeah.
Lights are just different. It's a different feeling.
Mm-hmm. So I'm glad. Man, maybe you're getting Christmas up early because you won't be spending Christmas at home this year.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking. Is we're leaving, I think, the 19th of December, so we won't actually have time in our house here at Christmas. So we have to enjoy it as much as we can right now.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it.
Mm-hmm. And you should be.
So
Christmas
it'd be great.
It's great. It's a joyous time of year.
Yeah. Nothing bad happens at Christmas.
And I can't believe that Thanksgiving is just right around the corner.
Yeah, what, 3 weeks now?
Easily. Not even that. Let's see, today's the 4th, 11th, 18th. Yes. It's 2 weeks and 2.5 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
18th. Because isn't it after the 20th? It's the third Thursday of the month, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's 3 weeks from this Thursday.
Oh my gosh. 3 weeks from this Thursday is Christmas.
No, Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah. See, I'm already thinking about Christmas too much. Don't get too excited.
Oh yeah, I'm pulling back right now.
Yeah. That's it. We're not putting it up.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyway, so how was your week? How was your week, Holly?
It was good.
Good.
It was
Good. I'm glad.
Things are finally quieting down after midterms in school, so feeling good. Feeling better about that.
Great. And your test scores are where you want them to be?
Yeah, sure.
Fantastic. That's what I want to hear. My dad said,
my mantra now.
Go ahead. Your mantra is?
My mantra is just graduate.
Hey, you know what, Lee? In the Air Force, one of Lee's friends that would always say, C's graduate, C's graduate.
C's get degrees.
C's get degrees. Maybe that was what he said. And then the other, my dad always said, if you're a straight A student, you're just not enjoying life.
Did he say that?
Yep. That was my dad.
Oh
He said,
my gosh.
so you get a B, Frank. Anytime you get a B, I'm going to smile from ear to ear because that means you've got
Really?
other things you're doing. Yep.
See, that was his philosophy, but didn't you earn the perfect attendance record in high school?
Yes.
So I feel like that kind of defeats the purpose there.
Hey, well, he was still proud of me. Or at least I still remember his words of counsel. He had passed away by the time I had graduated from high school, but yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Gosh.
Well, didn't you get 100%? Well,
wait a second.
Yeah, I guess I did. Mm-hmm.
This isn't lining up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay.
I was going to say for today's episode, we wanted to do something a little different and respond to some of the questions that we've gotten so far.
Okay.
So this is going to be question answer. So
Okay.
again, just like last week, we're just going to jump in. It's time to be frank. And here's the first question.
Okay.
How does the seriousness of this industry weigh on you? How does it affect you?
Okay. So whenever anyone asks me this question, my patented response is, this industry is an emotional industry. It's not physically demanding. Well, it can be physically demanding because, when you're moving individuals that have passed away, no pun intended, but it is dead weight.
Yeah,
so
dead weight is heavy.
It is heavy. And so probably the greatest lesson I learned was from the first company I ever worked for. And we had a manager there whose name I won't tell you, but I really respected the man only because he said, my first day there, he said, Frank, have you had time to yourself yet? And I said, what? And he goes, yes, have you had time to yourself yet? I said, I don't know what that means. And he goes, well, I expect every one of my employees or people that work for me to take 20 minutes a day, maybe twice a day, if you need it, twice a day. And while you're still on the clock, I want you to go to the break room. I want you to play cards. I want you to start telling jokes to one another. I want you to somehow or another break a smile on your face and just start laughing.
Really?
And yes, and that's what he did. And so when we took over this mortuary here, I thought, oh my gosh, it would be so nice to be able to have that type of and I'm still working on it. I mean, we don't have one yet, but it would be nice to have that type of a room where you can just go and decompress. And so sometimes families, you can begin to kind of sense how they're feeling with regards to the loved one passing away, and you can see what they're saying to you, and maybe make a joke of it. And so if you can sense that and see it, Holly, when you step into a circumstance where you're talking with a friend or someone, how much of a joke you can make. You just know.
You can always read the situation, read the room.
And that's exactly what we're doing. So when you ask, how do we make a solemn or a heavy situation lighter? I'll give you an example. And this is something that happened yesterday. And so I had a family come in, and there was a guy that was a little heavier set, and everyone called him Tiny. So his wife was in there asking him questions, and then their good friend, who was also there, there were 5 people there, and that's probably too many for an arrangement, just so you know. But the good friend was there and said, so what do you think, Tiny? And we were talking about flowers. What do you think, Tiny? What flowers would be good for the services? And then his wife looked at her friend and said, don't ask him. He's just going to say, I don't care. And so she asked him again, and he looked at her and he said, I don't care. And so it was just what she had just said. And then about 10 minutes later, she changed the name from Tiny to Gary. And so that meant that now she was getting a little irritated with him. So she was no longer going to call him by a pet name.
She's not joking around.
Yeah.
Yep.
No longer Tiny. Gary, I'm serious with this. I want you to know what's going on. And so I just laid my pen down and I said, hey, I don't know what you go by, Gary or Tiny. But I am telling you this. But when someone starts with Tiny and then changes it to Gary, obviously something's wrong.
Yeah. This is not going the way.
And so we all just started laughing because all of a sudden it's like, okay, like when your parent, I grew up Frank, my given name is Franklin. But when my mom was mad at me, she would call me by my full name, Franklin. So you knew,
right?
You knew something was wrong. But so it was a perfect example for me at that moment with Gary and as opposed to Tiny. And so I just picked up on it immediately and just started and just made everyone laugh. And it was a good thing because that broke the ice on everything. It was kind of tense for a while where people sometimes will come in and they just don't want to share information. And so if you can break down that little bit of a barrier or wall, it helps a lot to have the arrangement process go much smoother and faster and I think healthier in essence.
Definitely.
So it's good. So that's just an example, a simple little example of how you can change a burdensome procedure into something that's a little more lighthearted. And laugh. And I'll tell you this, I trust me when I say this, I laugh with almost every family I come into contact with.
Really?
Yep. And it may be hard at the beginning, but we do laugh. And I always have to pick up on something they said in the conversation. For instance, here's another example. Mm-hmm. A young lady comes in, she's there taking care of her grandmother, but her daughter is there as well. And I find out that she's attending a high school that my wife teaches at. And I looked at the daughter and I said, hey, do you have Mrs. Lambert as a teacher? And she goes, who? I said, Mrs. Lambert. And she goes, oh, no, I'm not. And she teaches math. And I said, oh, okay. Yeah, she does teach math. And she said, I'm not taking math this year. So here's a sophomore not taking math, which is unusual.
I didn't know that was an option.
I didn't either. But the mother looked at her and said, you're what? And she goes, yeah, Mom, I'm not taking math.
What?
She didn't know. She didn't know she wasn't taking math. And so she said, oh, you're going to take math. And she goes, well, what if I don't want to? Well, I've already told the counselor that I'm not going to take math this year. And she goes, you want to graduate? And the daughter looked at her and said, of course I want to graduate. And she says, you're taking math this year. So anyway, the conversation went on. And I was totaling up the contract and I just threw it in front of this girl. And I said, I want you to total that contract for me. And she looks at me. She looks at me and she goes, what? And I looked at her mother and I said, now's a great time to immerse her into math, don't you think? and to let her see how important math is. And then we all just started laughing. So there it is. That's just another thing. And I said to her, I said, the totals better be right. So anyway.
Don't try to work out some deal for your mom here. I'm going to check your work.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, that's just a couple of examples.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I'm sure that, your biggest thing has always been humor.
I've always loved
and humor. So, yeah, I feel like that's our family's love language is making each other laugh.
I agree. Don't you just feel like you're set at ease when you start laughing? Seriously, all of a sudden that wall is starting to break down and you listen more intently, you engage more appropriately. I think it's very important.
And I think especially in such a serious situation, like where you're in a mortuary, obviously therefore the death of someone.
Yep.
And you can find a way to laugh in that space. Mm-hmm. It does make the whole process easier.
So Holly, if I gave you this statement, I want you to finish it. Where there's a will,
there's a way.
Not in the funeral industry. Where there's a will, there's a death.
Hold on. That's a question.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. That's what we always say. Where there's a will, there's been a death.
There's been a death.
Okay.
Great. Yeah. Okay. Well, then that answers my next question of how do you keep it light? But
Yeah.
let's go a bit more into that. Do you have any specific stories when things are hard that you draw back on and say, well, at least this was a good time. At least this was light and funny, and you can still get joy out of those stories? And
Yeah, I'd have to think about that one for just a little bit, and maybe something will come to mind as I share a couple of other stories. Is that okay?
Mhm.
So give me
Yeah,
that question one more time. Go back so I can think about it as I'm talking.
sure. Is there a specific instance or story that you draw back on, or one that's your favorite to reminisce on or share about a humor situation?
Yes. And I'm going to share one with you, but then I'm going to share a couple of other stories that actually took place within the funeral. So here's this hit me kind of funny, and I was probably about 8 months into the industry itself, and we were doing an arrangement conference, and this lady's mother passed away, and so
Mhm.
she was older, and she looks at me and she goes, "Who does the makeup?" And I just looked at her and I said, "Well, we do."
Mhm.
"Who's we?" I said, "Well, for this instance, I'll probably do the makeup." "Oh, Lord have mercy. I don't want mama looking like no clown." And I thought to myself, "Clown, you looking at my
Wow.
makeup?"
Are you comparing?
So that's what I was thinking.
God,
Where'd you come? Why'd you go right to clown?
looking like no clown.
I don't want mama
Oh
looking
my
like no
gosh.
clown. Oh, Lord have mercy. I don't want mama looking like no clown.
You're going, do I take offense with this? How do I
That's exactly what I was
how do I
thinking.
respond to this?
How did you jump from A to B? I don't know. We
Right.
were just talking about math. How do you get to that solution? Whatever. Anyway. So anyway, whenever I step into the prep room and start to work on someone's makeup, I always think to
Oh
myself,
yeah.
I don't want mama looking like no
Don't
clown.
make her look like no clown.
So anyway, oh man, I'm gonna cry. A good cry.
I could cry this time.
No, the last cry was good too, but this is different. So
This
anyway,
is better.
yeah, I would just want to share a couple of stories that, since we're trying to be a little more lighthearted in this episode. And so it was a gloomy morning, and I remember it being gloomy because it eventually started to rain. And so I
Mhm.
remember going in early thinking that, oh my gosh, I've got to get everything, make sure that the lady. Okay. So when you're thinking about funeral directors, this is a mindset. And for me, especially, because if you don't trust your embalmers, it's a big deal. If a viewing happened the night before, you want to get in early the next morning to make sure that there's no soiling on the clothing. So
Oh yeah.
sometimes people through the night will purge, meaning something drips from the mouth or from the nose, and it starts
Uh-huh.
to saturate their clothing. So you just want to get in early to make sure that everything is okay. So that particular day, I went in and I was checking her clothing. Everything was fine. Phew. I was happy about that. So I started to get the cars ready, and this particular service had a limousine and a
Uh-huh.
coach. And so both of them were ready. I got them ready. And in the course of my getting things ready, I just happened to look out the front door, and there was this little dog sitting on the porch. And the little dog was just sitting there kind of watching traffic, because the mortuary that I worked at the time was just a little offset of the main road. And so the traffic
Uh-huh.
was going back and forth, and I could just watch his little head, every once in a while, just kind of like watching the traffic as it was going back and forth. But I could see that he was cold. And so he was, his whole body would start to shiver.
Right.
And as I was watching him, it started to rain, and I go, oh, great. So I just washed the cars, got them wiped down, and now it's starting to rain, which is fine.
Oh
So we
gosh.
went ahead
So
and
annoying, of
yeah,
course.
that's when you know it's going to rain. We should all wash our cars here. So
Yeah, I sure did.
so anyway, so as we were talking, or as I was getting ready, I just ran to the chapel, started to move everything, the flowers, the casket, got them moved into the funeral coach, and then flowers into the van for transportation. And we went to the church for services. When we came back about an hour and a half later, maybe 2 hours later, I was walking to the break room to just get a bottle of water. And I happened to walk by and I look out the front door and there's that dog still sitting there. And I'm thinking, what in the world? What are you still sitting at our front stoops for all of a sudden? And so I went on ahead and I walked up to, I opened the door and I just said, hey, boy, hey. And then so he stood up and the little tail started to wag. And so I walked up to him and I said, hey, how you doing? And I noticed that he had a collar on and a little identity tag. So I picked him up and I carried him into the mortuary. And he was cold. So I grabbed a towel. I just walked back to the back, grabbed a towel, put a towel around him so that he could start to warm up. And I looked at his tag, and there was the lady's name and a phone number and the dog's name. And so I called the lady, and this is our conversation. Ring, ring, ring. Hello? Hi, this is Frank from ABC Funeral Home. Just calling to let you know that we have your dog here at the funeral home. Silence, silence, silence. I said, hello, are you there? And she goes, when did he pass away?
Poor woman.
Isn't that funny? Oh my gosh. Oh my word. When did he pass away?
Oh my gosh. I love that.
Oh my gosh.
It found her dead dog, took him to a funeral home.
Oh my gosh. Maybe she thinks that when the dog does die that they should go to a funeral home. I don't know. Anyway, that's number one. And number two, I'm going to say an older gentleman about the age of 70, maybe 75, came in to make a funeral arrangement for his wife. And so as the funeral arrangement went on, we talked again about caskets, flowers, where she was to be buried, when they wanted to have the viewing hours, and where the services were going to be held. All of that had been arranged. So I said, hey, listen, I need you to bring in her clothing, and I need you to bring in whatever else you'd like to have with her in the casket so that we can go ahead and make sure that everything is set the way you would like it to be set. And so he said, that would be great, Frank Pinks. He didn't come in. His son did. And so his son comes in and he said, hey, these are my mother's this is my mother's clothes and some things that my father would like to have placed in the casket. I said, perfect. That's just what we asked you to do. So that's wonderful. So in the embalming process, when the embalming takes place, you go ahead and turn around. You make sure that if there's anything that we need to be aware of that the family wants after the embalming, like glasses, maybe maybe a certain style hair barrette, something like that, is make sure that it's placed appropriately immediately so that there's no question as to where it is. You don't lose it. It's right there. In this particular case, it was dentures. So in the embalming process, after the embalming was done, unfortunately, we discovered they were dentures. And so we had to open her mouth again. And just so you know, remember that story I first told you about my father about the little silver thing?
Yeah.
In his mouth, between his lips. So in the embalming process, if you don't have dentures or an expression former, which is a hard, durable plastic thing that'll just slide over the gums and it looks like the person has teeth, or you can cotton fill the mouth. Anyway, it's an injector. You can push right into the upper and lower gum, and then it's got wires attached to the nail, and you just twist it and then pull it tight so that the two jaws come together. So that's what had happened. So when we noticed the dentures, we immediately had to pull the nail, cut the wires, and then start all over. So the interesting thing, though, is that once the dentures were placed, they didn't seem to be sitting exactly right. And so we just kept looking, and a lot of people will put their last names on the inside of the dentures in case they go into a nursing home or something. They can always identify things. So in this case, this lady's last name was on the dentures. So we knew that they were her dentures, but we couldn't quite figure out why the mouth wasn't closing appropriately. So we really had no choice. We just put them in the mouth, and then we closed the mouth, and we looked at it and said, that must be the way her mouth was. So what are we going to do? So anyway, the time of the viewing came up, and this husband came up to us and up to me specifically. And he said, hey, Frank. And I said, yes. And he goes, did you use my wife's dentures? Because that was important. And I said, yes, we did. And he goes, darn it. I gave you the wrong dentures. I gave you my dentures.
Oh my gosh.
So no wonder the dentures didn't. So it's no wonder the dentures didn't look good on her mouth.
Wait a second. Oh my gosh, you know he was at his home trying to put in her dentures.
He had them in his mouth.
He had them in?
Yes. And so when he said, shoot, I gave you the wrong dentures, as he finished the word dentures, the top plate came flying out of his mouth. He goes, I'm here a little early. Do you think you can switch them?
Can we switch them?
I said, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I said, yeah, I can do that. I'd be happy to do it. And he goes, man, I would certainly appreciate it. So,
at this point, he's only talking with the bottom row of teeth.
So when we, oh my gosh, all the memories. So when we changed the dentures, and trust me, they look great.
Oh, this is how they're supposed to go.
Once the good dentures were in her mouth, she looked fabulous. And so I handed him his dentures.
Yeah.
Without skipping a beat, he grabbed them and put them right in his mouth.
I don't care.
So I guess I learned the experience that husband and wife share everything.
Yeah, they do. Boy. Even in death.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Now I'm really crying. Oh wow. So anyway, holy moly. So anyway, that's those are the two stories I wanted to share with you today for a little bit of levity.
He just pops him right in.
Without hesitation. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, we clean the mouth and everything, but my God.
Right, but jeez. You would think there'd be some hesitation there.
Oh man. I would almost rather see him kiss her with makeup on than
right.
we had applied than take the teeth out and slide them right into his mouth. Hold on, do you want some denture cleaner first?
Right, you want us to clean it? Oh my, no need at all.
Oh my gosh.
He was wearing hers.
He was wearing hers.
Problem.
Oh shoot, I gave you the wrong dentures. Plop.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man. Okay. Anyway, do you have any other questions, Ollie?
You know what?
What's that?
I might have had questions. I feel like we should just end it there.
Oh my gosh, I can't stop thinking about it now.
Man.
Oh, he was so concerned.
Oh shoot.
He was so concerned, and yet he was so appreciative when we got his teeth back. Jeez. All right, there we go.
There you go.
Oh wow.
My
well, I
gosh.
certainly hope this episode has made you smile or at least laugh a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, and there'll be more coming down the pike, but these are the first two that I thought of as we were talking about doing something a little more on the lighter side.
Light.
So,
right. Oh
anyway,
my gosh.
Yeah. So anyway, as you listen to these episodes, we hope that you'll share it, that you'll tell your friends about it, and that you'll again learn something new and experience some laughter and some sadness with us as we talk about this. So it's been fun for the first 5 episodes. So hopefully we can keep it going and enjoy it as much. Well, we hope you enjoyed as much as we enjoyed doing it.
Right.
So yeah, thank you so much for being here. Holly, do you have anything more?
No, that sums it up perfectly.
Okay.
Seriously, shoot us a message, like, follow, subscribe. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thanks for joining us again this week.